Make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're going to win. You know, it's been an amazing period. We've been all over the state today. I love you too, darling. Look at her. Oh, I love you. I love you all. I love you all. So many things are happening for our country, and this is a movement. Time magazine last week did the most beautiful story cover, and they talked about it. It's a movement they've never seen. They say there's not been anything like this. I don't know ever, but they actually say ever. We went to Tampa the other day, Tampa, Florida, on like 2 days' notice, 15,000 people. They had to turn away 5,000. And by the way, for all of the people in this room, I can't believe it. This is a huge room, but downstairs they're filling up another one, and they're sadly sending people away. We don't like that, right? No? Okay, why don't we all get up, go, let's have no. No. And we have one of the great veterans, Al. Is that Al? Stand up. Wow. One of the great, you are great. I love this guy. He loves the veterans, and I love the veterans, and we're going to take care of our veterans. I'll tell you that. We're going to take care. They are not properly taken care of, so we're going to take care, right? We have some, oh, look at this. I knew you guys would say that. I can spot a veteran a long ways off, but we're going to take great care. We're going to take care of our military. We're going to take care of our military because our military is being whittled away. We're going to make our military so big, so strong, so powerful, nobody's going to mess with us anymore. Nobody. So, Nikki Haley, a very nice woman, she made a speech the other day. You saw that, and she was talking about anger, and she said there's a lot of anger, and I guess she was implying all of us, you know, really referring to us. And by the end of the day, she was actually saying that Donald Trump is a friend of mine, he's been a supporter of mine and everything else. You know, the tone at the beginning wasn't as nice. By the time that she was just barraged with people, she said, I think we better change our path here. And by the end of the day, and it was fine, it was great, but she said, yeah, there is anger. But I said there is anger. And I was asked during, not this debate, but the previous debate, I was asked, by the way, didn't you love this last debate? I sort of liked it. They came at me from every angle possible. No, they came at me from every angle. You know, it was sort of interesting. They were hitting me with things like, and such untruths. You know, I never realized, I've always known politicians are dishonest, but I've never known the level of dishonesty. And I deal in industries a lot of different, but mostly real estate and like in Manhattan and different places. But I've never seen people as dishonest as politicians. They will say anything. Like, okay, so a lot of you people understand, and you get me, and you've seen the speeches, and you've seen a lot of it. And you know that I protect the Second Amendment more than anybody, by far, right? More than anybody. And this guy, Ted Cruz, gets up and says, Donald Trump does not respect the Second Amendment. I mean, more than anybody, I'm with the Second Amendment. No, it's lies. And then they do commercials. And you know, he did it to Ben Carson, and him in particular. In all fairness, Jeb misrepresents, but these are minor misrepresentations, and he's not going anywhere anyway, so who the hell cares, right? No, it doesn't matter. Well, Jeb was talking about eminent domain. Donald Trump used eminent domain privately. And then I see there's a big story. I had to bring this out. Look, proof. Jeb Bush, under eminent domain, took a disabled veteran's property. He's talking about me. No, see. Honestly, these guys are the worst. Eminent domain. Without eminent domain, by the way, you don't have highways, roads, airports, hospitals. You don't have bridges. You don't have anything. So they say, Donald Trump does look like eminent domain. I don't like eminent domain, but you need a road. You need a highway. You need, you know, it's funny. They all want the Keystone Pipeline, right? But without eminent domain, think of it, without eminent domain, you can't have the Keystone Pipeline. And we're going to get the Keystone Pipeline approved, well, it's jobs. It's jobs. But remember this, when it gets approved, a politician's going to maybe approve it, but I'm going to approve it, but I'm going to make a deal where we get a big chunk of it for the people of the country. Why should we just approve it? They're going through our country. It's different. It's a different way of thinking. It's a different way of thinking. Let me give you an example. I saw this first time a few weeks ago. I've been talking about it. The drug companies. The drug companies are the largest, we are the largest purchaser of drugs in the world, right? In the world, by far. We purchase numbers that nobody would even believe. And yet we don't really negotiate the price of drugs because we're prohibited from doing so. If we did, we would save perhaps $300 billion a year. That gets to be serious money. 100 billion here, 100 billion there. All of a sudden you have a lot of money. But we'd save perhaps 300 billion, could even be $350 billion a year. Now, why? A friend of mine who's a doctor comes up and he says, Donald, I don't understand it. You go to the drugstore, the United States pays the same as Mr. Schwartz, who walks into the drugstore to buy drugs. It doesn't make sense, right? I said, of course it does. These guys that I'm running against, and others, politicians meaning, they get campaign contributions from the drug companies, okay? They get campaign contributions from the drug companies. So all of a sudden, you have a non-competitive business. I get no contributions. What I'm doing is funding my own campaign. So I don't get it. Except for the little tiny ones that people send in for $20 and $100 and $200. And, you know, it's hard to send it back. How do you send it back? And it doesn't amount to much, believe me. But how do you send it back? You can't send it back. You'd hurt the people. You'd actually, number one, it would cost you more to send it back than it's worth. And number two, you hurt their feelings. But I'm not accepting. So I'm not taking money from the drug companies, from the oil companies and lumber and everything else. The numbers that you can save, I'm self-funding. The numbers that you save are so astronomical. The problem is these candidates, they're all taken care of with campaign contributions. And they can't. So, as an example, Jeb Bush, Woody Johnson. You ever hear of Johnson & Johnson, right? Big drug company, big pharmaceutical company, big company. He's in charge of fundraising for Jeb Bush. So he raises a lot of money. Jeb Bush raised $148 million. He's wasted almost all of it. Think of it. Most of it. And the only reason I even bring somebody at a press conference saying, why do you mention Jeb Bush? He's not competitive. Although his brother came today, they're having a thing they're trying to make competitive, but I don't think it's going to happen personally. I don't think so. Who the hell knows? Maybe. Who knows, right? But they say, why do you mention? Because he did $20 million of negative ads on me, you know, when you do that. And for some reason, my numbers keep going up, so they can't be very good ads. They can't be. They can't. So when you look at what's going on, and let's say now I want to save the $300 billion, but I'm Jeb Bush, and you say, we're going to save this money. Then Woody Johnson's going to call him. Jeb, you can't do that, Jeb. Can't do that. I worked hard for you. Lobbyists are going to call them, or the lobbyists are going to call Ted Cruz, who's, you know, a dishonest guy. He's a liar. I mean, he's a real liar. They're going to call him. They're going to go, Ted, you can't do that. You got another race coming up in 2 years. There's no way you can do that. These guys supported you. Or they're going to call Marco Rubio, who stood with me. He was with me when he had the meltdown, and I'm telling you, it wasn't a pretty sight. No, he was sitting right there. No, he was soaking wet, I'm telling you. He was wet. I say, what the hell's going on over here? I thought he just came out of a swimming pool. He was soaking. I looked. I said, wow. I said, are you okay? No, when we get in with Putin, we need people that don't sweat. Let me tell you. No, it's true. Got to have people that don't sweat. Can you imagine Putin sitting there and waiting for the meeting, and this guy walks in and he's like a wreck? No. You got to have Trump walk into that meeting, folks. We'll do very nicely. We're going to do very nicely. It's funny, these guys. So Putin said nice things about me. I don't know Putin, but he said nice things about me. He said Trump is a genius, and Trump is going to win, and Trump is leading the party. All right, said nice things. Look, you know, I always like a compliment. We all like compliments. Not going to influence me. Believe me, I'm going to do what's right. But he said these things. So the other people said, we want you to disavow what Putin said. First of all, I say this. Guy calls you a genius, you're not going to disavow. Do we agree? Only a stupid person would disavow, not a genius. No genius would disavow being called a genius. But more importantly, if you look at it, wouldn't it be nice if we actually got along with Russia and other countries? Wouldn't it be nice? I heard them saying this morning on television, how dare they want to? Donald Trump wants to work with Russia to get rid of ISIS. Yeah, sort of, right? You know, the cost of missiles at $1 million a pop. It would be nice to work with somebody else, let them drop some of their missiles. We'll get rid of ISIS. But they were talking about working with Russia like we have to do it ourselves. Why do we have to do everything ourselves? We're like the policemen of the world. You know, our military takes care. I've seen so many things. There's so many different ways to save with a business person. And I'm really good at this stuff, I'll tell you. You know, remember when I put my papers in? They all said, wow, that company is unbelievable. It's an unbelievable company I built. And now I want to put that thinking. I'm not doing that braggingly. I have very little debt. I have some of the best assets, some of the best real estate assets in the world. They're great. Great cash flow, everything good, right? And I'm not saying it bragging, I'm saying it because that's the kind of thinking we need. Right now, we have $19 trillion in debt. We have $19 trillion. It's so sad. You know, you look at what's happened, you look at what's going on, 19 trillion, and then your politicians, not mine, but they are mine too, unfortunately. But a month ago, they make this omnibus budget deal. Did you see this thing? Obama got every single thing he wanted. He got where the migrants can come into our country. He got funding. He got funding for the illegal immigrants. Let me tell you about the migrants. You know what? We all have a heart, and I have as big a heart as anybody. We have to take care of people, but you can't let people into this country who don't know. We don't know where the hell they are, where they come from, where did they originate from. You can't let it happen. You can't let it happen. I mean, we have people, and you look at those lines, you look at the migration, you take a look at the migration, and you say, that's strange. So many men, strong, young men, not many women, not many children. I'm saying, what's going on over here? Maybe it's the Trojan horse. I doubt it. But, you know, a lot of people are going to come in. They're going to be bad people in many cases. And you see what two people, look at these two radicalized people that got married, that shot the 14 people and killed them, that gave them anniversary parties and children's parties, and they went in and killed them. So there's something going on. And when I did it in South Carolina. I told people in South Carolina, we have to have a temporary ban on Muslims coming into this country. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And it'll be temporary, hopefully, but if we don't find out, look, it's radical Islamic terrorism, okay? There's a lot of hatred. We have a president who won't even use the term. When it's obvious that that's what it was, won't even use the term. We have to solve the problem. You can't solve the problem if you're unwilling to even say what the problem is. We're going to solve the problem, but we have to be tough. We have to be vigilant. We have to watch. You know, when these two young, horrible people that got married, they talk about the couple, the couple, give me a break, right? When these two people that got married, that killed the 14 people, well, in their house and apartment, they had bombs laying all over the floor. Other people saw that. Why weren't they reported? People knew what was going on. Why weren't they reported? To me, those people are just as guilty, almost, as the people that did the shooting. Why weren't they reported? And the reason is possibly that they liked what was going on. We can't have it. Look, we've got to have a country. We've got to have a country. We're going to have a great country. We're going to get rid of some of this stuff. We're trying to be so politically correct that we can't function anymore. We can't function. Take a look at Germany. Take a look at Germany. Everybody expected I was going to get Time Magazine of the Year because of look at this people. But everybody expected it. And by the way, we have the same crowd downstairs. Can you believe after I'm finished, I have to do this again? Do you think this is fun? Do you think this is fun? And then they sent away 3,000 people. So we're going to have like close to 10,000 people. Amazing, right? Well, We did give you 3 days notice, right? Can you imagine? It's such a, no, it's an honor. It's an honor. And you know why it's an honor? Because no matter where we go in the country, these are amazing people, whether it's Dallas, Mobile, Alabama, we had 35,000 people. We started with a hotel. Then we went to a football stadium because the hotel, you know, no hotel's going to hit. And we ended up with 35,000 people. We go to Oklahoma, we had 20,000 people twice. No matter where we go, in New Hampshire was unbelievable. They have smaller venues, but we had the night literally before, we had a blizzard. We had a blizzard. We had the Verizon Arena. We had 5,000 people in the Verizon Arena during a blizzard the night before. A great victory for all of us. It was a great victory. New Hampshire was so amazing. It was a victory for all of us. It's not a victory. I'm like the messenger. I'm a good messenger, I think, but I'm like the messenger. But people are tired of what's going on in our country. We're tired of the Iran deal, where Iran gets $150 billion. We get nothing. They laugh at us. They take our sailors and they put them in a begging position with their hands up, and they put guns to their heads. And frankly, they'd still be there, except for the fact that they got $150 billion 2 days later. They're not stupid people. They're great negotiators, the Persians. We have the worst negotiators. We get nothing. We have 24-day inspection periods. Think of it. You don't go there for 24 days, but the clock starts ticking. It could be 6 months before you could go and inspect. Then they have self-inspection of some areas. Can you imagine that? You know, Obama calls the leader the supreme leader, right? I promise you will never hear supreme leader from me. He will never be called. He will never be called the never. Not going to be called. No, it's such an embarrassment. It's such an embarrassment. We make these deals, and the saddest part, I said this to somebody the other day, what do you regret? I said, the biggest regret is that we've already given them this hundreds of billions of dollars, because frankly, the rest of the deal, I can take deals and make them good no matter how bad the contract is. I find ways. But you know what? The money's gone. The money's gone. And here's what they're doing. They're going to Italy. They're buying tremendous amounts of stuff from Italy. They're buying 118 airplanes from Airbus, not from Boeing. We want Boeing, right? Oh, you want Boeing. No, but they're not buying them from you. And be careful, Boeing. I'll tell you about Boeing. But they're buying missiles. They're buying all this stuff. They're not spending the money with us. Now, here's what's going to happen with Boeing, because I love Boeing, and I know you went through hell to get Boeing. But China now is insisting that in order to get the big order, that Boeing build a massive plant in China, okay? Now, think of it. You know what I'm talking about, right? Does everybody know this? So they're taking all of their intellectual property as part of the deal. This is to buy an airplane, a lot of them. But China is going to build massive plants now, and Boeing is going to spend the money, but they're taking intellectual property. They're taking everything. And you know what? You have your plant, but unless a guy like Trump is in charge, that plant will be in jeopardy very quickly, and you better be careful. Just remember it, because China, the currency manipulation that China does is like a great chess master. It's brilliant. What they do is incredible. And they always wait till we have a problem, because it's a problem like we have a problem, so they reduce, they currency manipulate. What they do is incredible. And you can't compete as a business, and we have all the cards, because they take our business out of here so quick, like we're babies. It's like candy for a baby. So Boeing, I just tell you, in terms of what you have and what you've built, be careful, because they want to take those planes and they want to make them in China, and that's not good. That's not good. But believe me, if I win, it's never going to happen, because never going to happen. Never going to happen. I don't even know that I'd let Boeing make the kind of deal they made where they're building this massive plane factory. I don't even know. In other words, in order to get the order, we want you to build this massive factory. So then you say, well, what good does it do for us? You saw just the other day where Carrier, air conditioning, I buy many, many Carrier air conditioners. I think I'm going to start buying other air conditioners now. I think I'll go with Trane. I'll go with somebody else. But Carrier just closed up a big plant. They had a big one. They're moving their air conditioning business to Mexico. And somebody was taking through a cell phone. It's amazing, these cell phones, because you can take it. as they're all being laid off by somebody saying, we're moving to Mexico, I'm sorry, your jobs are gone. Just like that. People have worked there for years, their jobs are gone. So Carrie.
We've got almost 300 days of sun in Nevada, but we're not being allowed to use it. And
going to Mexico. Now, I'm good at this stuff. Some of you are good at this stuff. How does it help us? We lost Carrier. Carrier's going to Mexico. They're going to make air conditioners. They're going to sell them back to us. We get nothing. So what I would do is I would say to Carrier, listen, I don't like what you did. And you can sell all the air conditioners you want to us, and you can make them in Mexico, but you're going to pay a 35% tax every time you sell an air. It's the only way we come out. Honestly. It's the only way we come out. You know, I know all the different ways. You know, it's all corporate inversions and all stuff that the politicians that I'm dealing with, this Ted Cruz, the guy's never employed a person in his whole life, okay? Never employed a person in his life. And these guys, they're not going to tell you that I've employed tens of thousands of people. By the way, I get along so great with the Hispanics. In Nevada, they just did a poll. I'm leading with the Hispanics, right? I get along great. Great. But these guys, they never employed anybody, so they don't know about corporate inversion. We're losing our businesses to, you know, it used to be that a business would leave New York and come to South Carolina or come to Florida. No more. Now they leave here and they go to Europe and they go to Asia. Pfizer is moving to Ireland. They made a good tax deal. There's $2.5 trillion over in different parts of the world, outside of the United States. It's probably 5. The government says $2.5 trillion. Usually you can double it because they're embarrassed. Everybody agrees that the money should come back into the United States. That's a lot. Companies cannot get their money back in. The Democrats agree, the Republicans agree, they need leadership. They don't have any leadership, they can't make a deal. So everybody agrees, who doesn't want the money coming back in? They can't get the money back in. So what's happening is companies are leaving the United States to get their money. They're also leaving to get lower taxes, okay? So my tax plan, as you saw, cutting it big for the middle class, big, 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 because the middle class has been forgotten in this country, believe me. It's been forgotten. And I love the middle class. Actually, the people I don't get along with are the rich people. I don't like the rich people as much. You want to know the truth. Actually, there's a lot of truth to that. But we're going to take care of the middle class, and we're going to take care of our companies, because our companies were the highest paid. Look, in any respect, in every respect, from a tax standpoint, we have the highest taxes anywhere in the world. Okay? So then you wonder why we don't have business. And one of the reasons we don't have business is because we pay so much, we need the tax, but what the tax is doing is it's driving people out, and they're coming out. So we're going to do things like the following. We take care of South Korea. Every time I go to television sets, and by the way, air conditioners, well, now I can also go to Mexico, right? But air conditioners, all the stuff made in South Korea. Samsung, LG. I buy thousands and thousands of television sets a year for different projects, right? I won't be doing that too much anymore, I hope. I hope I don't have to buy anymore because, you know, I hope I can focus on the United States, not on buying television sets. Does that make sense? Really? That would be so boring, ordering 4,000 television sets for a big project someplace. I'd say, oh, I want to focus on the United States. I hope I don't have to buy any more of this stuff. Thank you, darling. I agree. But they're a behemoth. And yet we have 28,000 soldiers, great, young, beautiful people on the border between North and South Korea, this madman. And he's got nuclear, and I tell China, you better fix that, because otherwise we're not going to be so nice to you on trade. Because again, China needs us more than we need China. Just please remember that. Obama never figured that out. Because why? Because they're sucking our money out. We have rebuilt China. We've rebuilt. You go to China, they have bridges like the George Washington Bridge all over the place. That's like a little bridge. They're building roadways, they're building airports, they're building these. You go to places like Qatar, you go to places all over the Middle East. It's the most incredible thing. Then we come home, we land at LaGuardia Airport with potholes all over the place. It's like we're a third world country. It's true. You see airports in different parts of the world, because I travel to these places, that are beyond belief. I was in Qatar, which they say Qatar. I've always said Qatar, so I'd rather say it the way I say it. But I was in Qatar, and they were showing me the airport. I said, this is the most beautiful airport. They had spas while people are waiting for their planes. Spas. They had a gym. They have the most beautiful waiting rooms, reception rooms. I said, this is the most beautiful airport I've ever seen. And he goes, no, 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 this is not the airport. This is just temporary. The real airport's over there. And I look at there's 40 cranes building the most incredible airport. The one that I said is the most beautiful is a rip down. And we have LaGuardia, and we have Newark, and we have LAX and Kennedy, and they're all falling down and falling apart. It's so sad. Those days are over, okay? Those days are over. Are over. So when you hear how much we spend on military, it's really a misnomer. Because we don't get, just like I told you about the drug companies where we're going to bid it and we're going to save, you know, billions and billions and billions of dollars, right? That all goes to the budget, folks. It all goes, you know, when you see the kind of deficits, the kind of losses we have, it all goes to the budget. With the military, it's even worse. Because a lot of times, and you've all read, I've been reading it since I'm a kid, they buy equipment that they don't even want. Because the company that makes that equipment is politically connected, much more so than the company that has the equipment that they do want. We're going to get the equipment that we want because, see, again, I'm not taken care of by these people. We can buy the right equipment, and sometimes, you ever see where they order a fighter, a jet fighter, and it's not the one they want, but it's the one that they're getting, and it's being rammed down their throat by the politicians? Those days are over. We have we have the F-35. We have the 35 fighter, where China has copied it. Did you see that the other day? They have a picture of the F-35. It's a new fighter. We come up with it. We develop it. It's very complicated stuff. We develop it. China has knocked it off. You look at that and this. We do the work. And now they have to come up with a new concept. I'll tell you what, folks. It's just so hard to believe. But you got to take a look at it. Look at it. The planes are almost identical. So we do all the work, we do all the development, they copy it, they steal it off our websites, they probably get it off Hillary's emails, right? Right? What do you think? I think so. I think so. No, I think so. And by the way, we'll beat Hillary. We have some great polls that just came out. We beat Hillary. These other guys. Assuming she's allowed to run. I mean, I'd rather run against a communist in this country, because I know we haven't got that far. I'd rather run against Bernie, to be honest with you. You know. No, I did say communist, by the way. You understand that now. So I would rather run against a socialist/communist in this country, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be Hillary, because she's being protected by the Democrats. She will probably get through. Now, General Petraeus suffered. And remember, I think I helped him. I said, leave him alone. Did you see, on top of everything else, they want to reduce his rank. And for the last 4 or 5 weeks, I said, leave him alone. We have to beat ISIS. Leave this guy alone. He's suffered enough. Leave him alone. You know what? They announced a couple of weeks ago they're going to leave him alone. I hope I had something to do with it. I don't know. They ought to focus their energy on ISIS. They ought to focus their energy on winning trade deals. And, you know, I say it all the time. We don't win anymore. We don't win anymore. We don't win with trade. And I'm telling you, I know the big Boeing stuff here, but be careful, because in 5 years, all of a sudden, you're going to see it's going to go to China, and it's going to go to other places. Just be careful. You won't have to be careful if I'm president. I'll be careful for you. It would be so easy. You won't have to be careful. Not going to have to be careful. So our military is going to start winning again, but we're hopefully not going to have to use it very much. We shouldn't have gone into Iraq. That was a big mistake, because it destabilized the whole Middle East. And some people say, oh, don't say that. Look, we made a tremendous mistake. We went into Iraq. Shouldn't have happened. Everything you see right now is an offshoot of that decision. That was a very bad decision. Then Obama got out the wrong way. He came out. I mean, here's a guy. He announces the date that we're leaving. So the enemy pulls back. And I'm saying, can you imagine General Douglas MacArthur or General George Patton? These are tough killers. Can you imagine? They must have been going nuts. They're spinning in their grave. Obama announces a date. We are leaving on such and such a date. So the enemy pulls back. What do we have to fight for? They're leaving. We leave 18 months later and they go and look at the mess and look at what they've got. I'll tell you, Iran, the deals they've made, not only the 150, I mean 150 billion. I used to say what a great deal, it's one of the best deals I've ever seen. It's actually one of the most incompetently negotiated deals. For instance, our prisoners. I say this because it's like 101. It's like the art of the deal 101, okay? But anybody read the art of the deal in this room? Yes. A lot of people. Kerry didn't read it and Obama didn't read it. But what you do is you go in right at the beginning, 3 years. This deal took forever. It seems like it's been going on forever. But let's say they have our prisoners. 3 years ago, you go in and you say, fellas, got to release our prisoners. Sorry, got to do it. Bad for you, bad for us. We need them. You don't. Your people don't care. Got to. It'll send a good signal. They'll say no. We'll say bye-bye. We're going. No deal. Now you leave. You double up the sanctions. They were choking. They were choking. You double up the sanctions. Within 24 to 48 hours, they'll call. We got our prisoners, right? Now, here comes the tricky part. Now we have our prisoners, they're gone. This is 4 years ago, not the other day, where we released them and we got, we gave, basically what did we do? We gave them $150 billion for 4 prisoners, okay? $150 billion for 4 prisoners. And it sets a terrible precedent, by the way. It sets a terrible precedent because what you're doing is you're negotiating with people, terrorists, it's not good. So we paid this money. Look, now we go in, and we say, okay, they're on the shore, they're safe. Fellas, we got a problem. Somebody actually from the press loved this story because my father was a great guy. He taught me a lot. I learned a lot from my father. And he said, son, you're too direct, you're too tough. You're too tough, take it easy, easy. You got to take the lumps out, son. Take the lumps out, right? We got to take the lumps out. He said, you're too just not. So in the old days, I would have said, we're not giving you 150 billion, you're never getting it. They would have been insulted, it would have been a problem. We would have gotten, so we still would have won, but it would have been nasty. So when we take the lumps out, we say, fellas, I got to tell you, I got a problem. We're a debtor nation. We owe $19 trillion. We just have these politicians, by the way, the Republicans approved it. We know where the Democrats are coming from. The Republicans keep approving this stuff. We just made a terrible deal. We're going to owe, this is going to cost us the budget's another $2 trillion, right? So we're going to owe $21 trillion. We don't have the money. There's nothing we can do. The $150 billion, we want to give it to you so badly. We don't have it. We're poor. We're bust. We have no, they'll go crazy. At the end of a couple of days, they'll be fine. Okay? We just saved $150 billion. It's true. That's the way. See, that's my father. He would say, take the lumps out. I would have done it the other way. But you have to learn from people. He was great. So we take the lumps out. So now they'll go nuts. We go back 2 or 3 days later. We got it. We just saved $150 billion. Believe me, I wouldn't have given them 10 cents. They wouldn't have gotten anything. So when somebody said, what's the biggest disappointment? I said, my biggest disappointment is that if I win, I go in, and we don't have that $150 billion. And for the sake of a little negotiation and walking out of a room a couple of times, we could have had it. It's so sad. It's so sad. I use as an example Sergeant Bergdahl. We get Bergdahl, a traitor. No, think of it. We get this dirty, rotten traitor that 6 people were killed. 6 young, wonderful people, military, were killed looking for him. So we get Bergdahl. Right? One guy. And they knew that he was a spy. They knew that he was a traitor because they had a general and a colonel going and negotiating with the people that he was closest to. So they knew. So we get Bergdahl. They get 5 of the people that they most coveted, that they've wanted for 9 years, and they got them. These are great killers. They're all back on the battlefield or soon will be. So we get Bergdahl, and they get the 5 people that, this is the way we negotiate. This is the way we negotiate. So we have a problem with the country. We got so many problems, but we have a problem. And the problem is that every single thing that we touch turns out bad. We don't win. We never win. We lose all the time. We lose at every level. We lose with the military. We lose at every level. A story I love to tell is Nabisco. They're leaving Chicago. They're going into Mexico again. A lot of people going into Mexico. Buy stock in Mexico. Believe me, they're doing very well. They're going into Mexico. But Ford is opening up a $2.5 billion plant. You know what $2.5 billion for a 1-story plant is? That's a big plant. They're building this massive plant, And I've been talking about this for 2 years, but now, the other day in the Wall Street Journal, I read a story. Ford is going even bigger in Mexico. You know why? Because nobody talks to them. I don't mean talk. I mean, nobody sort of like scolds them a little bit, like, can't do that, can't do that. Because the other day in the Wall Street Journal, there's another story. They're moving in even bigger into Mexico, right? In bigger. Because nobody talks to them. Nobody said it's bad what you're doing. So Ford goes in, and they're building a $2.5 billion plant. So instead of building in Michigan or wherever they're building, and they're closing plants, when you build this plant, you're closing someplace. They're building this massive factory, and they're going to sell cars and trucks and parts, and they're going to sell them right into the United States, okay? Now, people are smart. You don't have to even be a good business person to know that's no good for us. I mean, what do we get? We get closed factories, and we lose the jobs. Same thing with carriers, same exact thing. And in Mexico, they get this massive plant that's going to employ thousands and thousands of people, and they're going to sell the cars all over the place, but they're going to sell them into the United States. And now, on top of it, it was such an easy deal that they're doubling up and they're going to make it even bigger. I mean, literally, hard to believe. This was announced 2 days ago that they're going in even with bigger. And they want to keep the publicity down because they don't want it to stop, but they want to keep the publicity down. So when these other candidates, let's say Hillary, oh, yeah, Hillary. Can you imagine her as president with the turmoil? No. And by the way, the last person she wants to run against is me. Remember 3 weeks ago? Donald Trump is sexist. Oh, did she suffer after that? I brought her husband into the equation, right? Oh, did they suffer? That was a long weekend for them. The last person, I know it for a fact. Hey, I know Hillary very well. I supported Hillary. You know, as a world-class business person, you got to support everybody. You got to get along with everybody. I know these people very well. She suffered. And her people told me the one person she just doesn't want to run against is us. We're going to have so much fun. I hope it's going to be Hillary. No, I hope it's going to be Hillary. And then Chuck Todd, he's a nice guy. He's the anchor for NBC Meet the Press. He said, I have it on personal knowledge that Hillary Clinton wants to run against Donald Trump. I called him. I said, Chuck, you don't understand. When they announce that they want to run against that person, that's the person they don't want to run against. You understand? You know, a little chess. Chuck, not checkers, it's chess. When they announce they want to run against somebody, that means that's the one they don't want to run against. Please remember that. But they don't remember that stuff. But that's okay. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But they don't want to run against us because we're going to win so big. So when they go to Hillary Clinton and they say, Ford is opening up a plant. Now they're going to double it up. Now they're going to bring more. Now they're going to empty out the whole United States by the time they figure they're going to build this massive thing. She knows it's no good. But all these people that I'm talking about, they were at the debate the other night. They were all loaded up all over the room. You heard it. I walk out, I have my kids in there and my wife, and they're clapping like crazy. But, you know, a few people isn't so good. They love me, but they're clapping. But yet 1,800 or 1,900 people, they're special interest lobbyists, many of whom I know. And frankly, there's a couple of them are friends of mine, and they're laughing as they're booing me. They're booing Donald Trump, boo, boo, boo. And they're laughing and waving at me, and I'm waving at them, and I'm saying it's a game. But these are supporters of Marco Rubio for the most part. I mean, Jeb Bush answered one question. He couldn't even speak. He's stumbling all over the place. And he gets a big ovation, right? I answered about the judges, and I gave a great answer, and I said, you got to keep it going. And Mitch McConnell, you can't take the judge. I even gave two names of two great conservative judges, one from Alabama, one from Wisconsin, highly respected. And I got a nice, you know, little like this. Jeb Bush gave some answer that was like incoherent. Oh, that was great. That was great. You know why? They're the people that gave him the money to run. And if he wins, they're going to have total control. Same thing with Marco. I mean, in that case, it was really those two that, and which, by the way, the Republican National Committee did a horrible job of ticket distribution. That I can tell you. Establishment. They did a horrible job of ticket distribution. And the problem is, because I'm self-funding, I don't have any donors in the room. There's nobody giving me money. And some of these guys, you know, it was very funny. One guy came in, and he wanted to give me a lot of money. And they're gamblers. I mean, I know these guys so well. Half of them I know. And some I like, some I don't know. Some are good guys, some are horrible guys. but I know them sort of almost all. And I'm looking at the room, I say, wow, that's all the fat cats. That's all the bosses out there. That's the bosses of the politicians. That's when you want to negotiate with Ford, and then Ford's going to send 6 of those guys up to see you as president. And if you took money from them, you're not going to make a deal. Whereas I'm going to make a deal with Ford. I'm going to say, get back into the United States, and we're going to charge you a lot of tax. I'm not going to let this stuff happen. I'm not going to let it happen. Because I don't care. Our country is being blood-sucked. I'm telling you, our country, what's happening, we're losing our industry. We're losing it, and we're losing it because people want to be conservative. Now, let me tell you, I'm more conservative than anybody, but I'm common sense conservative. I believe in free trade, but we got to get something out of it. We can't have free trade where we lose $500 billion a year, where we lose $100 billion with another country and $50 billion with another one. We can't do that. Because it's just like the borders. Without borders, we don't have a country. Well, without money coming in the other direction, we don't have a country. So we're going to build the wall. Somebody just said, we will build the wall. Believe me, we'll build the wall. It's going to be a real wall. No, I'm telling you, these politicians, and don't forget, we started off with 17. There were so many, it was like, oh, it's terrible. I mean, some of these people, like, I don't want to mention names like Pataki, who had 0. No, I don't want. Well, I like Lindsey Graham. I actually like him. But he had 0. Okay. Good. Now that I hear the tone of the room, I actually didn't like him too much. No, the guy came to my, remember he came, he gave me a cell phone. He said, could you give me a contribution? Could you set me up with some people? Could you give me a contribution? That was years ago. So when I went up and I saw he was competing with me, and, you know, I said, remember, I said, let's see if this old cell number works. I don't know why I had his number. It was like 4 years old. So they called it, and his phone exploded. You remember, we went out public. His phone exploded. It went like boom, it crashed. Anyway, but, and I don't know, do you like Lindsey Graham or not? Tell me. No? I actually think he's a nice guy. Is he going to be reelected or not? Tell me. No? All right. Well, maybe if I supported him, he'd be reelected, right? Well, I disagree. I disagree with his warrior mentality, you know, because if you listen to his mentality, we'll be in the Middle East for another 15 years, okay? You got to knock out one at a time. You can't fight Assad, and you can't fight Syria, and they're fighting ISIS, and we're going to fight ISIS too. So we're fighting ISIS, who's fighting Syria. We're fighting Syria, who's fighting ISIS, and we don't know what the hell is going on, and we're backing people that we have no idea who they are, and they're fighting Assad. And then if they win, they'll end up being worse than Assad, and we'll have spent another $1 trillion on them. Nice and easy, folks. And I'm the most militaristic person in this room, except for Al. Al is wild. But I'm the most militaristic person in this room. But you got to know what you're doing. Think of it. They all say, fight Assad. Fight Assad. Assad's a bad guy. They're all bad guys. Not too many good guys over there, right? They're all bad guys. I mean, what did we get by knocking out Gaddafi, right? Nothing. What did we get by knocking out Saddam Hussein? Saddam Hussein was a bad guy. But Saddam Hussein would keep Iran under control because the armies were the same, the military strength and power was about the same. He'd keep them under control. And frankly, you know, in all fairness, there were no weapons of mass destruction. But what did we get out of it? Saddam Hussein killed terrorists. He would kill. There were no terrorists. He would kill them immediately. He didn't do it politically correct. He found a terrorist, they were gone within 5 seconds, okay? With us, we find a terrorist, it's going to be 25 years in a trial. And by the way, for South Carolina, we are not moving any people from Gitmo to South Carolina. That I can tell you. None. We're keeping Gitmo open. It's cheaper to keep it open. And we're going to load it up with bad dudes if they make it there. And, okay, let me talk just for a second, and then I'll get the hell out of here. You go home. You can go watch Bush tonight, right? I don't think too many people are going to watch. Let me just tell you. So I'm running against different people. it's so important that we win. It's so important that we start turning this country around. I'm running against politicians. Now, you look at what's going on. Just the one question. I was on the debate. Ted Cruz was on my left, and they asked him about waterboarding. And he was incapable of, take a look at the way he answered the question. I think he's a very unstable person to start off with. He couldn't answer the question. He's going, well, he was afraid to say waterboarding is okay, right? You remember, right? 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Not the last debate, I think the one before. Anyway, because the last debate, everybody was shouting at me. There wasn't time to talk about waterboarding. But hey, they're shouting at me for a reason. If they weren't shouting at me, I'd be very sad, because that would mean we're not doing too well. When they're all going after you, and we've had a lot tougher competition than those people, believe me. But when they're all going after you, that's a good thing, because that means you're doing well. But they asked Ted Cruz, who, by the way, is very, very weak on illegal immigration. So is Rubio, very weak on illegal immigration. And Bush is so weak that he calls it an act of love, right? That immigration, here's Bush, immigration is an act of love. They come for love. I said, excuse me? Excuse me? You look at the crime, you look at the problems, you look at what's happening even to the economy. You know, they were talking about the dreamers, people coming over from other countries. I say, I want the children of this country, of our country, to be dreamers too. You know, not always the dreamers from outside. I was asked that question today. First time in a long time. I was asked that question today about the dreamers coming in and the dream. And I said, first time I've heard that question in 3 months. I said, you know what? Dreamers, everything's fine. But I want the children of the people from this country to also be dreamers. I want our children to dream. I want our children to dream. So remember this, they're chopping off heads in the Middle East. That hasn't happened, I guess, since medieval times. I love history. I'm sort of a semi-student of history when I have the chance. But it's like, since medieval times, chop off heads. It's like chopping off heads. Who ever heard of this before? They're chopping them off. James Foley, a great young guy, that was sort of the beginning. But they chop off heads, and then they send the videos all over the place of it happening. We're not going to let this go. So they asked Ted Cruz, standing right here, what do you think of waterboarding? Okay, waterboarding. We're talking chopping off heads, waterboarding. And he said, well, I don't know. I don't know. Wow. He couldn't answer the question, right? He couldn't answer. You saw it. And then they went to me, and they said, what do you think? I said, I don't think waterboarding's tough enough. I think we need much tougher. And as far as I'm concerned, that's okay. It's okay. Well, they said, what do you mean? I said, let me tell you. I said, they're chopping off the heads of Christians and lots of other people in the Middle East. Waterboarding is fine, and other things that are a lot tougher are fine, and that's okay with me. And you know what? I got a standing ovation. I didn't know if it was a good thing or bad. I didn't poll it, I can tell you. You know, these guys, if you ask them a question, they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to pollsters. And when you ask a guy like Cruz a question like that, they like to poll it. So they go out to the people and they say, what do you think of waterboarding? They do also. With me, I said this, I had no idea. I don't care. I speak the truth. I speak the truth. I just speak the truth. So we're going to get our country back. We're going to have a strong country again. We're going to be respected again. We're not going to be a laughing stock like we have been, and we have been, believe me, all over the world. They don't respect us anymore. They don't respect us anymore. These politicians don't know. Thank you, darling. I love you, too. Ooh, I do love you. We're going to be a respected nation again. We're going to be a respected nation. So, you know, I began by saying, I came down that escalator with Melania, and I never saw so many cameras. It looked like the Academy Awards. I mean, literally like the Academy Awards. And I said, we have to do it. When I made my speech, I talked about illegal immigration. You wouldn't even be talking about it if I didn't make that speech. You wouldn't even be talking about it. And then everybody came, and then I talked about the borders, and we have to have borders, we have to have the wall, all of this. And then beautiful Kate in San Francisco was shot in the back by an animal who came over here 5 times, shot her in the back in San Francisco. And with all of the things that we had, think of it, and it just started. But what's going to happen is this. We're getting rid of sanctuary cities. Getting rid of it. We're getting rid of it. It's almost like, you know, these sanctuary cities in San Francisco. I think if I own a big building there. I own a big chunk of the Bank of America building in San Francisco. Who would think of it as sanctuary cities? In Florida, they have like 6 or 7 sanctuary cities. It's almost like a place where criminals can stay and be left alone. It's crazy. Who would think of these ideas? So what we're going to do is we are going to use great judgment. We're going to start off with a word that's very special, heart, because we all have heart. We're going to have great health care. And for the people, the few people, the little, it's a small, we can't let people die in the streets. Do we agree? We're going to have great health care, but we can't let some people that can't afford anything die in the streets. And everybody understands that. And Republicans understand that. But we're going to have great health care. We're going to have great military. We're going to be respected so much. We're going to win so much, folks. We're going to win. Sometimes I joke. I say, we're going to win, win, win. You're going to come to me, beg me, Mr. President, we can't stand it. We don't want to win anymore. We don't want to win. And I'm going to say, yes, we want to be great. We have to keep winning. I will not do anything else. We're going to keep. But the truth is, we're going to knock out ISIS. We got to knock them out. That's a cancer. We're going to knock out ISIS. We're going to knock them out strong. We're going to get rid of ISIS. We are going to have a country that you love now, but you're going to love and respect so much more than you do now. And hopefully, and I say this hopefully, you're going to have a president that does such a great job that you're going to be so proud that you were here tonight. You're going to be so proud that on Saturday you're going to get out and vote. You have to get out and vote, folks. You have to get out and vote. Unlike these other people, I don't want your money. I only want your vote. So you have to get out. Saturday is such a big day. Keep it going. We're going to use common sense. We're going to use heart. We're going to use business skills. We're going to use our best people. We're going to use people that are so much more talented than there are anywhere in the world. We don't use them. We're going to use them, and we're going to make America great again, greater than ever before. Okay? Thank you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I love you.